followings from an unreleased episode of my podcast. Go check it out. Thank you. Tee.
Let's talk about the origin. That's like the inherent starting point for how god tier Casey is.
Like, I remember one of the biggest talking points being Raphael separated from the brothers. Like, people were freaking out, like legitimately freaking out. Really, if you read the book, it just gets to the point to where, honestly, I don't even think about that.
No, literally,
like, I forget that's how it starts at this point. Yeah. But it's integral to, how he ends up meeting Casey.
Look, let me break it down to you like this. I've literally, Geekily has heard me talk about this exact spiel like 80 times, so I apologize. The cool thing about like Raph and Casey's relationship in IDW that inherently makes it different than other versions of Raphael and Casey, and then I think solidifies their bond more so than any other version. When they meet in IDW, they're not at odds. Every other version, the story of how Raph and Casey meets, he's going crazy, overdoing it, and Raph is like, bro, just stop. Like, it's time to stop. Pain 101, your instructor Casey Jones, blah, blah, blah. They duke it out, they beef, they fight, then they squash the beef and they're friends. Right?
Classic.
Comes super, super close. They bond through their anger issues kind of vibes. But Raph and Casey in IDW, right? Raph gets separated, which again, everybody was up in arms about, but I think was an excellent choice. He's lonely, he's searching for his family, and he happens to come across his abusive alcoholic dad, Hater Till I Die.
Yeah. Go on.
I hate that man. But anyway, and instead of being like, he steps in and he saves Casey, or at least intervenes. He comes to Casey's aid. He's a college kid. He's not a vigilante yet. The Turtles push him into vigilantism because of his want and need to protect his friends and like newfound family. So
good.
Casey, which is crazy. It makes Casey and Raph's bond, and Raph hasn't even met his family yet. When Casey has no real family, creates this like inseparable, rock solid brotherhood that to me at times is more important to them and their relationships to other people in the books. It makes their relationship so much more significant and so much more, it's like, I don't know, like you really feel it in your bones, intertwined forever, basically.
Yeah, it would like be a shame if like one of them became a cop and the other one turned to alcoholism or something. That would be terrible. But luckily this bond is forever and it will never be broken. Ever. Never. It'll never happen.
I wish you could see the crazy side eye, but like my eyeballs are gonna pop out of my head. But look, I love Casey in almost every version of the Turtles. I've always loved Casey's role, but Casey in IDW gets like so many extra layers, and it only took a few more steps in the storytelling. It's one of the most complex versions of Casey I think we've ever gotten, and to this day, those first 100 issues like solidified him as like one of my favorite characters for Turtles, period. Yeah. Like, he's like the blueprint for me.
Try and top that, Seth Rogen.
For real, like, he better start taking notes, because he's got a lot to live up to, for me personally. Like, do you want to talk about the cool new additions we've gotten from IDW? Because I was talking about this earlier, but I think we should talk about some of the characters that only currently really exist in the IDW verse who need to like jump off the page.
Yeah, let's tap into that.
Who's your fave? Out of all the characters that they've come up with for IDW specifically, who is your fave?
Okay, I feel like it's a cheap answer, but Jenica.
It's not a cheap answer, but okay.
I feel like, well, the reason I said that is because I feel like that's what everyone's going to say.
Yeah, that's fair.
But this is coming from someone who never really cared to see another turtle, and not for like the sake of like, oh, you're messing with the canon. It's just supposed to be the four brothers. It's just, I don't know. The idea of it felt cheap to me. And I'm not specifically talking about Jenica. I'm just saying,
just like
whenever,
generally.
like in the fan base, I know we had Venus, but people would be like, "Oh, do you think we'll ever see a fifth turtle? Like maybe you'll have a black bandana or something." I'm like, I don't know. It feels kind of gimmicky and like a franchise that hasn't really played those cards before. Like, it feels like a Power Rangers trick. Like with Power Rangers, we expect to see at some point in the season a sixth ranger pop up, like it's tradition. That it kind of felt like a gimmick to me. But the way they did it with Jenica was very organic. and she's an actual character. Yes, she's a Ninja Turtle and she's part of the team, but she very much feels like her own thing. And that's what I appreciate about it. Like, yes, she adds to the team, but if you cut her out, say she doesn't appear in the mainline book ever again, and she only has solo stories, it would completely work. She doesn't need them. And I think that's the perfect way to introduce an extra Ninja Turtle. So, yeah, I would love to see Jennika on the screen. And honestly, I would rather see like a Jennika solo project as opposed to her in a Ninja Turtles project.
I actually completely agree with that. Funny you said that, like if they added a 5th turtle, like it's kind of gimmicky. I thought of Spider-Man, not to like
fair
open a wound right now, but like I'm thinking of Spider-Man in the comics right now, like everything going on with the current run and like killing off Miss Marvel, like that's kind of the vibe.
Pretty
like,
much.
The way they like you said, the way they introduced Jennika, super organic, super well written. We already had a history with the character, so it didn't feel weird. It wasn't for shock value. It was something they inherently were passionate about. Every single time I read about, like, do you remember Kirby? Like, they were going to introduce a 5th turtle.
Oh, yeah, I remember
his name was
that.
going to be Kirby in the next, like, the 90s movies, the live action movies from the 90s. They were going to make another one, and he was going to be, like, another turtle.
Kirby, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, to me, I was like, I wasn't too hot on it. Like, it just seemed like too much, and like you said, like gimmicky, like they were just trying to push the shock factor, keep people interested, and they weren't actually relying on like, I don't know, people's emotional attachment to the characters that they had already established. And that's why Jennika worked so well, is because we already loved her before she was a turtle, and then they made it work after the fact.
I was gonna say, some credit I will give to the Kirby idea, though. I do love that they still kept in theme with the artist name. That was kind of cool.
I agree with that. I agree with
Other
that.
than that,
100%.
though, no, I'm cool. I don't need that.
I love Old Hob so much.
I should have said that. Like, that's a great answer.
But here's the thing. Between Jennika and Old Hob, for me, it's so difficult to pick an IDW original character. If I really had to pick who my favorite is, I think Old Hob. Old Hob, there's so many Turtles villains, right? And there's so many Turtle mutant villains, like, there are so many of them. It's crazy. Again, back in the 80s and stuff, like, it was all to sell toys and blah, blah, blah. Like, how many silly mutants can we make so that they'll buy our silly action figures? But Old Hob, like, legitimately terrifying to me. When I started reading it and I really started getting into it, I was like, he has like an edge that a lot of other like mutant villains for the Turtles just don't have. And I love him so much, and deeply saddens me that I don't know that we'll ever get to see him outside of the comic book, because he is hardcore. Like, he's so cool.
Now, I don't know. I don't know if they'll do it, but the cards are out there for him to be used in the Mutant Mayhem universe, especially in the TV show, Tales of the TMNT.
That's true.
With mutants being outed and everything, I'm almost confident not everybody's going to be on board with that. And some of the mutants are going to have the Superfly effect, and Old Hob would be perfect for that.
Cry about it! That's right, the ongoing pun little joke about you crying. Cry, you get it, it's a pun. Yeah, we threw it on a t-shirt and you can get it right now. Check the Geekly shop. It's in the pinned comment in the description box. Go down there somewhere. It's not on just shirts, we have it on hoodies, drawstring bags, anything you can think of pretty much. Just go check out the shop for yourself. We went so all out, we made 3 editions for you. 2K3, 2K12, and Rise. What are you doing? Are you just gonna sit there, or are you gonna cry about it? Order your t-shirts now! And more.